Hello, 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 hello. I'm looking at my paper. Hello, hello, everybody. Hello, hello. Who have I got? Julie, Michelle, Paula. Hello, everybody. How are you? Good to see you. Let's see if you could chat and hello. You cannot hear me? Hello, Julie, can you hear me? I can see and hear you. Okay, Paula, it's something on your end. Michelle, can you hear me? Michelle, I hear you. Okie dokie. Paula, you got to figure out why you can't hear me. Paula doesn't have me yet. Paula, okay now. Good, 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 good. All right. We'll stay in the chat. I think it works out okay. Hello, hello. Welcome. Okay, you guys. There's a lot of people here that want to be coached today. Yay. My favorite thing. So I'm going to talk a little bit. I don't want to talk a lot because I only have an hour today. So I got to make it really last. So this is what I want to talk about first, because what I was talking about last time. Hi, Caroline. Welcome. I hope you can see me and hear me. You can just put in the chat button if you can see me and hear me. So I know. I'm going to just keep talking though. Yes. Okay, good. All right. So can you see my little sign back here? Hope you can see that. Best day ever. That's what I'm thinking. Best day ever. Okay. So this is what I've got up here. First of all, I like to always come up with a quote. And I've been through some terrible things in my life, some of which actually happened. I know you guys have heard that by Mark Twain, but I think it's so apropos for the work that we do and the thoughts that we think, because we can really see how thoughts create such crazy stuff for us. Some things wanted, some things not wanted. But it's so nice to be able to manage it. And one of the things about managing thoughts that I think is when I introduced the book to you last week from Sharon Salzberg about real happiness, which is all about meditation. I want to get more serious about it this week for you guys to actually get the book and really look at it, because I do think, and I read it a long time ago, and when I found it, I wanted to just talk about it a little bit because I wanted to use it, because she's probably one of the biggest insight teachers on loving kindness, which is why I brought it up on the last call. But as I keep going through her book, what I realize, it is nuggets for meditation, nuggets. And I used to give it to everybody when I first got it and when I first started learning meditation from her many, many years ago. But it still is one of the best books to learn how to meditate that there is, with the whole thing about loving kindness. And she starts you out in chapters like week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. So 28 days to meditate. And I do believe that her process is kind. And the reason that I think any kind of meditation is so important, because what we all think about is our thoughts. And what I'm teaching all of you is how to be aware of them before they start causing crazy problems for you, right? So, like, we know, you know, that just because something's in your head doesn't really mean anything unless you put meaning to it, right? And so, one of the best ways to be able to really see your thoughts is through being able to concentrate your mind. And the best way to concentrate your mind is through a meditation practice. And the whole idea, and I know you all have heard it from me before, but the idea of meditation, the most beautiful thing of meditation is that when you can learn how to just watch what's going on in your mind and then bring yourself back to your anchor, which in this case will be your breath. And when you can come back with kindness, without chiding yourself for leaving or anything else, that's the best kind of kindness that there is that you let your mind go, you see where your mind goes, and you come back. You don't say anything, you don't make yourself feel terrible, you just come back to the present moment, to the breath. And so the way she has her weeks is week 1 is on concentration. And basically, it's being able to close your eyes and feel your breath somewhere in your body. And I just want you to read it. But I would love if you guys, by the next time that we get together, that you would actually do the first week, because everything that we do with the model and how we think and where our actions come from how we manage our mind and how we see it. And the best way to see it is practice seeing it every single day. And the best way to practice seeing it every day is to sit with it and watch it without any type of judgment. That's meditation. So meditation isn't like relaxing and thinking that it's such a pleasant experience, because sometimes it's just not pleasant at all. When you're living in your mind and you're watching your mind thinking, sometimes it's very unpleasant. But the beauty of it is that at some point you notice it for what it is, that it's just thoughts. And then you see yourself thinking, and then you just come back to your breath. And when you come back, you have meditated. Or the way Sharon says it in her book, you just start over. Or the way we talk about it, even if we eat and we don't do something mindful, all we do is we come back, or we just start over. It's the kindest thing that you can do without judgment, but at the same time, still learn and move on, which is the most important thing. So that's what I want to just say today, because I'm going to keep it short because I want to spend most of this time coaching. But I'm really going to encourage you to think about looking at this book. Even if you've been doing another kind of meditation practice, I would love for you just to look at it, just to become aware. I do think that this book is one of the best books for someone to start meditating. Okay? All right. So I want to see if anybody said anything to me while I was talking. Yes, everybody's good. Okay. So everybody's got something to coach on. So I think what I'm going to do is bring this over. Okay, so you guys, you can raise your hands. Do you know how to raise your hands? If you do, if you want to be coached first, you can raise your hand. If you know how to do that. And if you don't, I'm just going to call on somebody and we can talk. Does anybody want to raise their hand? Oh, okay, Caroline. All right. I'm bringing you up, Caroline. I'm going to promote you to a panelist. I'm going to allow you to talk in a minute. I'm going to unmute you. Yep, you should be able to hear me now.
Yeah.
Yep, and now I'm going to allow you to start your video. So you should be able to start your video and come on and come see me.
Start video.
There you are.
So I was only just trying to raise my hand rather than particularly wishing to be, I mean, I'm happy to be coached, but when you said, can you raise your hand? I just did.
Well, good. You can raise your hand and you're going to get coached. How's that?
Yeah.
Because you do have something to be coached on. So
yeah. No, it's good.
So it's good. So, you sent me your email, but why don't you just tell me in your own words what you were talking about so that you can just explain it to everybody, and then we'll model it. Because I think it's good just for everybody to know a little bit more about you and what you want them to know.
I can't remember exactly what I put in the email. I know roughly what I put, but
well, I can help you if you need help.
Okay. Do you want to help me?
Sure.
I mean, I can remember roughly what it is, but
well, just you don't have to be specific. Just do you basically know what you want to talk to me about?
Yes, which is basically fear of hunger.
Yes.
And it's the kind of thing that if I've eaten when I didn't want to eat, if I actually go back and think, why did I do that?
Yes.
It almost always comes back to some version of, I'm going to be hungry later and I can't live with that.
Yes. And we've been working that through as we have worked, right? And it keeps coming up. Yes.
Yes, it does in different formats. But
of course,
one is last thing at night. And if, for example, I think I gave the example in my email of I came back from something early in the evening when I hadn't eaten anything, and I thought if I don't eat, and I wasn't hungry, and I should have just had a cup of tea or something and then gone to bed.
We'll see.
But instead of which, I convinced myself that I'd wake up hungry in the middle of the night, and therefore I ought to eat something. So I didn't eat a particularly unhealthy meal, but I needn't have eaten that. And then I do it a lot if I'm going out somewhere and I don't know when I'm going to be eating or able to eat. And I
Mhm.
think, oh, well, I better have something. And that's, I think I also mentioned it's connected with, I quite often faint because I
That's
have a condition
correct.
that gives me low blood pressure. And so I think I've kind of mentally connected it with that. And so I keep thinking, well, I better eat something because if my blood sugar goes low, I'll feel faint, which I may or may not, but it isn't actually a big medical crisis.
Okay,
I do have, I do have a big medical crisis if I eat the thing I'm allergic to, but
that's
that's
correct.
totally different. So I think
Correct.
I've kind of merged all these things into a big excuse for overeating, really.
Well, what if it's not an excuse? Because that's kind of like not the kindest thing to say to yourself. Oh, you're just giving
No.
me an excuse.
Mm.
Oh gosh, why don't you stop it? What a horrible excuse. Like,
Yeah.
what if you're doing it because you're trying to help yourself and
Hmm.
you're just not sure how
Yeah.
to do it in a different way?
Yeah, that's a better way of expressing it.
Yeah.
You're
So,
right.
yeah.
It's
So when
trying
you're,
to avoid issues like not sleeping or feeling faint, or so I'm thinking that I'm looking after myself, I suppose.
I think you are looking after yourself,
Mm. Mm.
right? So because you're getting more mindful about everything, you're starting to see it
Yeah.
a little bit
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
clearly, which is really
Hmm.
great, right? It's like peeling an onion.
Yeah.
You're like a
Yeah.
little onion that's being peeled. Yes. And so now it's like if you wanted to use self compassion for this to start out with,
Hmm.
then it would be almost like, sweetheart, why? What's going on? Which is how I'm going to
Hmm.
talk to you right now. What is going on? Because what we can share with everybody else is you really do have a medical condition that if you eat certain foods, you can have a very severe allergic reaction,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
that has happened.
Yes.
Mhm.
Many times or several
Yes.
times.
And one of your reasons for not eating flour and sugar was to see how that would help that condition,
Hmm.
which it's helped it greatly, correct?
Greatly. Yeah. I mean, well, it's helped the kind of um, symptoms that were kind of associated with it. Obviously, it hasn't changed the fundamental allergy, but
That's correct.
it's helped enormously with the tiredness and all the feeling, just not feeling well.
Yeah,
Huge.
like, right. So it's huge that you feel
Yeah.
so much better when you don't eat
Correct.
those foods.
Yeah.
And so one of the reasons why you are so compelled really to stay away from flour and sugar is because of how well you
Mm.
feel and how much it's changed your physical well-being.
Yes, for sure. I mean, like
But
150%, it couldn't be, yeah,
150%.
it's really radical change. So that's amazing.
Correct.
Mm.
But here's the thing, what you still are left with, you still have a thought or a fear about one of these things maybe still happening.
Yes, I guess I do.
And now you're associating it to not getting enough food.
Yes, yes. Or,
Is
or
that
to sort of being in a situation where if I did feel really hungry, I couldn't find food, I suppose, more. Yeah, yeah, but not getting enough food. Yeah.
right? So that's probably what we want to look at right
Mm,
now is the thought about going hungry. I'm going to go hungry,
mm, mm.
or something bad is going to happen if I go hungry.
Exactly. Yes.
So why don't we look at that? Because I think it could be a fascinating model.
Mm.
I can already see it in my head. Can you kind of see it in your head? Just to think about this. So the circumstance is,
um,
let's just
what
put,
being hungry?
yeah, well, let's put in the
Or
circumstance that like going out to eat with friends, or I'm just like when it comes up, it's either like when you go to sleep at night or if you're going to be like, give me a
it's when I'm
circumstance.
going out it's like if I was going out for a walk or going somewhere. I mean, it could be going out for a walk or going to something where there isn't necessarily going to be food around.
Okay, let's just say going for a
Yeah.
walk,
Yeah. And
just
I
to
haven't
give you a
eaten lunch.
specific circumstance.
Yeah.
Okay. And in the circumstance, you're not hungry. Is that correct? When you're going
Exactly.
for a
Yeah.
walk. So
And I'm not
you're,
hungry.
okay. So would you say like you're at a +2?
Yeah. Or plus, yes, plus
Let's
two. Yeah.
hope a +2 and no more.
Yeah.
All right. So +2,
Yes, or
Hunger,
plus
yeah.
1 or whatever, but just not at a -2.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
sometimes I think like when we fill out this model, I think maybe what you could do is just go to the feeling right away before you even know what you think.
Okay, so I feel anxious that something bad's gonna happen.
Something bad is going to happen
Hmm.
if I get hungry and there's no food.
Yes, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that makes you feel really anxious. Like how anxious? -10 is the worst.
Oh, I mean, maybe -4, 5. I mean, it's not terrible, but
Well, terrible.
it's enough. Yeah, it's enough to make me eat when I'm not hungry.
So in the A line, what happens when you think this thought, something bad is going to happen if I get hungry and there's no food and you feel anxious, is that you'll eat
Yeah.
when not hungry.
Yes.
And just that alone, eating when you're not hungry,
Mm-hmm.
based on the thought,
Yeah, there's something bad. That
you
is the something
create.
bad. Yeah.
That's why I love the model so much. That's why I was so
Yeah.
excited to look at it, because
Yeah.
I want everybody to think about that. It's like sometimes you can see the model in your head immediately when you hear the thought.
Mm.
It's like, wow, like if I think something bad is going to happen,
Then I'm going to make something bad happen.
and what you make bad happen is, number one, you feel anxious, like you've got a -5 vibration in your body. You created off of that thought. And then you go do something that you don't want to be doing. And then
I
the
feel bad
result
about
is,
it.
and feel bad about it.
Yeah.
So you probably beat yourself up a little bit.
Yeah.
Just a tiny bit.
Spoil the walk.
Oh,
basically.
Yeah. So beat self up and don't enjoy the walk.
Yeah.
And that's all on the A line.
Yeah.
You don't enjoy your walk. You eat when you're not hungry. You feel really anxious, and you're beating yourself up.
Yeah, no, it's very clear.
And so we can see that the result, it's always good to look at a model because number one, the result will always be evidence for the thought. But the more specific you get with the A line, the actions, you're going to see the result from that too.
Right.
Right? Because when you're doing all this, something bad is happening.
Yeah, a different bad thing, but.
Well, you're just saying a bad thing, and you're not even sure what that bad thing is.
Well, that's true, because I'm not. Yeah, because it could be one of various things. That's true.
You don't really know.
No, I don't. You're right, actually.
Like
it's not. I'm not thinking.
That's right, like the Mark Twain quote.
Yeah.
All the terrible things that we think about never happen.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right here. Okay. So the result is you create something bad in the moment. I mean, basically, something bad is happening.
Yeah.
Okay, so for sure that does not work.
No.
Okay, so we're all good on that.
All
right. So let's go to more intentional and let's think about it a little bit, because don't you think that it's possible that you could just have food on you?
That's a very good question, because I think then I always eat it.
Oh.
If I have a bar in my bag or something, you're quite right. That's the obvious answer, is to take something. But then I don't want to do that, because if I do that, I always end up eating it.
So let's look at that.
Yes, that's the second problem. Really.
So that's not a problem. That's a thought.
That I always end up eating it.
Yeah. So the C is go walking.
Yeah. Because I could put something in my pocket and have it there for weeks, couldn't I? And then it was there if I started feeling faint or.
I always have food on me.
Yeah.
I do. There's something in my car. I just do. I just do. Right. And maybe I have a little bit of what you have, that kind of thinking.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. So for me, what helps me the most is just to have, I mean, it's not that difficult
No.
to have food around. Food's
You know,
everywhere.
if I know it's there, I keep thinking about it, and then I eat
Well,
it.
this is what we want to look at next,
Mm,
because now this becomes a little bit more of, do you hear what you're thinking?
yes.
If it's there, I'm going to eat it. It's
I
like out of
know.
all the things that you can think mindfully,
Yeah, that is not a helpful one, is it?
it's not a helpful
No,
one.
it really isn't.
And you think you're reporting the news. You're like
Yes.
trying to tell me, let me tell you something about me. If there's
Yeah,
food, I'm going to eat it.
yeah.
And like,
That's right. So then I think I've got to eat it beforehand, which just doesn't make any sense either.
well,
Because
everything that
then,
you're saying doesn't make any sense, because
no,
no
no, that's
thought
true.
does,
No, okay.
right? Like
Yeah,
we make sense out of our thoughts, and then we think we're brilliant,
yeah.
even if it's causing
Mm,
us all
mm,
kinds of havoc, which for you it is. So
yeah.
let's say
No,
you're
it
going
really is.
walking. So let's
Yeah,
say you bring food.
yeah,
And I'm just making up a scenario, but this is exactly what happens. Like, say you're going somewhere and you go, okay, well, I'm going to bring some food with me in case I
yeah.
get hungry. And then your thought is, if it's there, I have to eat it.
Yes. Sooner or later, I will eat it,
Oh, even if you're not hungry.
even if I'm not hungry. Well, I will
Why would you
convince
do that?
myself that I'm hungry. I don't know. I don't
No, no,
know.
no, 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 no.
Why would I do that?
Why would you think that?
Because that's what I've always done.
I don't think that's true. I've coached you for many, many weeks.
Mm.
You have not always done that. You have done that. A lot of times do not do that.
Yeah. Well, what eat? I will eat something if I've got it in my backpack when I'm out walking.
I think there's been
Or
food in front of you before which you haven't eaten.
yeah, yeah. Oh, there is. Yes, lots of circumstances, but not that
Oh,
one.
oh,
I think because I've never really thought about it. But when you asked me why don't you take food, that was what immediately came to my mind. Was that
I
wouldn't
understand.
last very long. Yeah.
I understand. So it becomes more of a thought about, like, it's like I can't trust myself if there's food.
Yes. Yeah.
And
Exactly.
and
Exactly.
what I'm saying to you is I worked with you for weeks.
Yeah.
You had many instances where you had food in front of you and you didn't eat it.
Yes, that's true. So I need to
So,
think of myself as that person, not the one that's going to eat the bar.
well, you can stop thinking that you always do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Because
could
that is
start
not
there.
true. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it could be, I used to. I don't even
Mm,
know if you used to do it all the time, but for
mm.
sure you don't now.
No,
But
that is true.
the first place your head went to, I always do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I don't even want to create, I'm going to end up with
No.
another unintentional model.
Yeah.
But I want you to see how these models work.
Yeah.
It's like you just went from one intentional
One to
model
yeah.
to another
Yeah.
one, but
Mm,
probably the most important unintentional model is your trust around yourself around food.
mm.
So I
Yeah.
think I don't trust myself
No.
when there's food in front of me, right?
Mm-hmm. In some situations, yes.
Well, I just love that we can say in some situations, because then it's not all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Then it's not, I always do it. You've already
Yeah.
corrected yourself.
Yeah.
So is I don't trust myself,
Mm-hmm.
to I don't trust myself in some situations
Yeah.
around food. How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel disempowered or vulnerable or one of those things that I'm not in control.
Out of control?
Yeah.
Yeah, so you eat food when you're not hungry.
Yes,
I don't
because I'm
trust
not. Yeah, I go and eat it.
Yeah. Eat when not hungry.
Mm. So I eat
And
when not hungry before, or I eat when not hungry with the bar in if I take it with me. But they're
I
both,
think
the
it's all the
result is
same
the same.
thing.
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. It's all the same
Mm,
thing. You have
mm.
food, and when you have food, you don't trust yourself not to eat it if you're not
No,
hungry.
no, that's true. Yeah,
All right.
because
So
if I did, I wouldn't be worried about eating before I went out.
if you always knew that you could eat,
Mm,
like
mm.
there'll be food, you'll have food, like that's not a problem. Like we could take
Yeah,
care of that. And then the problem then becomes the real problem,
yes,
which is, well, then I would bring food with me and then I would eat it. So you
yeah,
just eat it anyway.
exactly. It's just,
Either way, you eat it when you're not
yeah,
hungry.
yeah, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Okay.
So what do you want to think about this? I mean, seriously.
I want to think that I am in control, and I can choose when to eat when I'm hungry.
Okay, but do
That's
you
what I
believe,
want to think.
but you don't believe that,
Well, I
or do you?
didn't until now, but I will try and believe it.
Okay, but I don't want you to try to believe it. I want to ask you
Okay.
if you believe that right now organically from doing that other model. Because you were believing you weren't,
Yeah.
that you couldn't.
I certainly feel more closer to believing it. Yes. I mean, because it's out there now, I can see it as opposed to it being subconscious. Only time will tell when I go walking with a bar in my backpack and it remains there.
Right, but time will not tell.
Now I will tell, won't I? I will be in charge of it.
If you're saying to me, I'm just going to go out there and see what falls from the sky, and I'll
That's
let
not
you
going to be.
know, and I'll let you know how it
Yeah,
works. And
yeah,
I'm saying, I think when you go out there, you better be thinking something other than let's just see how it goes.
yeah.
Because the way it's going to go is your primitive
The
brain is
way
going
it's,
to come in and it's going to scare
yeah,
the shit out of you.
yeah.
That's what it does.
So I basically need to do all that and go with the same attitude that I always have or try to have or aim to have around food, which is only eating when I'm at a -2, whether it's on a walk or anywhere else.
Yeah. And
And if
I
I did that, then
I think you believe that you have the ability to carry food with you so that you won't go hungry.
mm,
Do you totally believe you can do that?
yes,
Okay. So that's not a problem. The problem is if you have the food and you're not hungry and it's sitting in front of you.
mm.
What do you want to believe about that instead of that I'm not sure I can control myself if it's there?
Well, I want to believe that I can, and I would only eat it if I was suitably hungry.
Okay. So you could at least go to I want to believe
Mm,
that I'm the one that decides.
yeah. Or I do believe that I'm the one that decides because I do.
Okay.
I
But
know that to be true.
if you know that to be true,
Mm,
can you just go to I'm the one that decides if I want to eat when I'm hungry or not? It's
yeah,
like there's no
yeah,
fear doesn't decide for me.
no,
I
yeah.
decide.
Mm,
And if you think about I decide, like you want to feel more
mm,
like empowered or determined
yeah.
or right. So right now, you know that
Mm,
it doesn't matter as much about what happens medically. You know, you can take care of yourself, right?
mm,
Because you can have
yeah,
food. So
yeah.
now it becomes what can you think now that you know you can have food? It's not going to be an issue. You're never going
Mm,
to have a problem because you can always have food,
yeah.
right? From a medical condition. So
Mm,
now it's if it's not a medical condition, it's a mental condition,
yeah.
right? And the mental
Mm,
condition is can you believe
mm.
that
Well, I can. I don't see why I can't.
and that you bring the food to
Yeah.
protect yourself
Mm,
if you get hungry.
yeah.
It's not there and for any other reason.
No. I mean, I'm perfectly capable of taking a bottle of water on the walk and not drinking it unless I'm thirsty. So there is no reason why I shouldn't have exactly the same approach with a bar of whatever.
Okay, so do you think you
I don't
can?
drink the water within 5 minutes of leaving the house, do I? I don't. So
Don't you find that fascinating?
Yeah, it's quite significant, isn't it?
Yeah. So maybe the thought is that I need to treat food like I treat water. I drink
Yeah.
when I'm drink when I'm thirsty and I don't drink,
Mm.
and I eat when I'm hungry and I don't eat when I'm not.
Mm. Yeah, that's a really good approach actually, and just treat it. And it's fuel. That's all it is.
I can treat food like
Mm.
fuel, just
Hmm.
like I use water for thirst.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant.
How does that make you feel?
Yeah, feels much better. Sort of makes me feel confident
Good.
that I could do that.
Yeah, and then I think what'll happen in your A line is that you won't just reach for something and eat it.
Mm.
Because the only reason you would reach for something and eat it is because you had a belief that that's what you would have to do.
Yeah.
Once that belief is questioned,
Hmm.
which it is, and now you go, wait a minute, it's just like water.
Yeah.
It's not going to be what falls from the sky, Caroline.
No. No.
It's going to be what
That
comes out of
wasn't
your head.
yeah,
It's
that
like,
wasn't a very helpful approach, was it?
well, you know what? I think we all end up in that sometime where we just
Yeah.
think, well, I got to go see what happens, and I'll let you
Yeah.
know. And it's like, well, let me tell you what's going to happen. Things don't just fall from
Yeah.
the
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
sky.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
come from our heads, and
Yes.
we decide.
Hmm.
So, like, once you feel confident, then it's like you will decide to eat or not based on hunger.
Yeah.
And then you prove that
Hmm.
you can treat food like fuel, just like you treat water for
Yeah.
thirst. That becomes your result.
That sounds very, very good and very clear. And I think that thought is exactly the approach that I should take, not just on walks, but wherever I am.
I think the thought, you're using it everywhere. It's not
Yeah.
just on. I used it
Yeah.
as for walks,
Yeah. But it's
but
really helpful that. Yeah.
it really is because you were using it as a medical problem. That's
Mm.
why we couldn't see it. It's like, well,
Yeah.
God, if she's hungry, she has to eat. Oh my
Mm.
God, you better carry. Oh, and you go, wait, that's not really the problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
The real
don't
problem is,
carry it.
yeah.
I would rather die than carry food with me because then I'm going to eat
Mm.
it,
Yeah.
which
Yeah.
of
Yeah. No,
course you just eat it anyway
yeah.
ahead of time.
Exactly. Yeah.
Beautiful work.
Yeah. That's really, really helpful, actually. Thank you.
Good. Okay. Well, I'm going to say goodbye to you and bring somebody else on. And I'm sure everything we just did is helpful for everybody else.
I hope so.
For sure. You know it is. Okay. I'm going to bring you back to an attendee. Okie dokie. And let's see. Let's bring, let me bring Julie up. Michelle, I'm going to bring you up too. I'm saving you for the end. Okay, Julie, I'm going to promote you. And I'm going to allow you to talk. Okie dokie. Hello, hello.
Hello, hello. I think Caroline had my email to you.
There's some similarities, isn't there?
Some of it, yes, and some of it, yes.
I know. It's amazing how everything is sort of the same but different.
And last night was so much more successful. I went into it thinking totally different and approached my day much differently and had a 180 of Tuesday night.
Okay, so why don't you talk about that a little bit?
So, so everyone knows I added some classes because my girlfriend's husband has been diagnosed with cancer, and so she couldn't teach her classes. So I'm teaching multiple classes this week. So I'm working all day and teaching classes at night. Got home at 8:30 on Tuesday night and 9:30 last night.
Okay.
So on Tuesday night when I arrived home, I hadn't eaten since 3 o'clock, and I was emotionally exhausted from a long day, and loud urge thoughts to come in, and ate when I wasn't hungry. And last night I came in came in the door and was just much more loving kindness to myself and saying, well, what do you really need, Julie? Are you really hungry? And I did my body scan, found out I wasn't hungry, realized I was very thirsty, grabbed some water, and chose something to do that was very relaxing. And the urges were basically zero.
Wow.
So again, stopping, talking kindly to myself, reflecting on what's going on. Gosh, it's just such work that makes such a difference. And having that commitment to myself as I'm walking into it, that kind of like Caroline was talking about, is that I don't need to eat if I'm not hungry.
Right. But don't you find it interesting how your brain likes to convince you?
Oh,
Because that's really what happens with all of us.
oh, absolutely. And it is very convincing at times. And I can start rolling down that road, and it's just kind of like a snowball that just kind of keeps getting bigger and bigger unless I interrupt it. And we've talked about pattern interrupts before.
Correct.
And how helpful it is to have those pattern interrupts.
Which you're very, very good at. You can interrupt your model pretty well.
I'm getting better at it all the time.
You're
Absolutely.
getting,
Mhm.
So how are you in terms of your mind body chart? Is your weight starting to go down? Are your numbers looking up?
Yes, they are. Sugar is back out. I've lost already 2 pounds. My pain is less. My alertness is better. Improvements in many areas.
Is that over the last week or two?
Last 2 weeks, yes.
The last 2 weeks. Okay. So if that's the result, why don't we look at the model on the result of that?
Okay,
That might be,
that will be fun.
yeah, I think that it'll be really helpful for everybody else too. Because you can work up a model too, right? We know we can go from the R line. So since
Yes.
you already have a result, I would really love just to share your model, because it's taken you a lot of models to get to this model.
It's a continuous progress. I love it. I just see that, it's kind of like continuous improvement,
Yeah, and I'm wondering, like, what kind of meditation practice do you do when you're meditating? Do you like listen to something? Do you do it with your breath? How do you do it?
Most of the time it's my breath.
Okay.
Occasionally I'll do guided meditations, but the majority are the breath. After we had talked, I want to say 4 months ago.
Yes.
We started the short ones where I didn't even set a timer and
Yes.
just do that focus.
Mhm. Good. So, because I think that really helps you be able to hone in on your own thinking the more that you do that.
I'm sorry. Okay.
What
Yes.
is that? What was that noise?
That's my work computer. That's my work office phone. I didn't mute it before I started this call. It's fine.
Okay.
It'll pick up and go to
Okay.
voicemail.
Okay.
I had to think about what it was too.
I know. I was just wondering. Okay.
Why?
So the result is over the last 2 weeks is lost 2 pounds. Energy better.
Yes.
What else did you say? Energy was better. Oh, pain.
Pain down.
So I'm assuming that these things had changed and now they're coming back up again.
Correct.
Okay. So what do you think that you were doing that led to this? So we'll just go right to the A line, because there's nothing wrong with looking at your A, right? In terms of what you're doing. I mean, no matter which way you're working, like if you just want to say, hey, this is what I want to be doing, you can start in the A. You just have to figure out how you're going to create it.
Yeah. And I want to say the most significant thing I've been doing with myself is exerting more loving kindness. Being much more significantly compassionate with myself, so that if I have an overeat, I'm not beating myself up with it. I'm looking at it. I'm doing the worksheet that you gave us, showing myself compassion and identifying what I can do from it.
Beautiful. And you're talking about the worksheet of Learn and Move On?
Yes.
Good.
I am. Because what I'm finding then is that reduces my urges also. because then I'm not beating myself up and I don't have that stressful feeling in my body. My body is more filled with relaxation and kindness and curiosity and interest. And when I've done something, why did I do it?
Without beating yourself up. So
Without
more,
beating myself up.
so showing compassion and curiosity.
Exactly. And what I'm finding is that more and more I'm eating between the twos. I had a doctor's appointment last week that I mentioned in my email that I had scheduled for 2:30 in the afternoon. And who fasts till 2:30 in the afternoon? My first thought was, I've never done that before in my life. And I walked into the morning, I said, you know what? I can treat myself with compassion today. And if I do it, I do it. If I don't, I don't. If I get too hungry, I can eat. And I realized through the day that my physical hunger, my mind managing that, knowing that I could eat if I needed to, but hey, I'm having this appointment. It'd be better if I didn't have another time. I went till evening meal just fine. And I was at a -2 at my evening meal. Again,
Really?
yes. And
So you
again,
kind of like went back and forth in hunger, like you got a little hungrier and then you got a little less hungry.
yes. Though that whole experience where the body truly will tell you it's hungry and then it will let it go. And I've read about this in books. You and I've talked about it. I've experienced it before, but never to this magnitude. And at the end of the night, I turned around and looked and I said, wow, what a realization of the differences between my emotional hunger and my physical hunger, that really there are many, many times where I think I'm physically hungry.
Yeah.
And I'm really emotionally hungry.
Like your mind can just be telling you haven't eaten.
It's time
I mean, it
to
can be as simple as that, is, oh my God, you have not eaten.
Yeah, you haven't eaten for 5 hours. It's time to eat. And that urge comes up, and my physical and emotional hunger is so close in my body. I mean, I really have to be a super body whisperer to identify the differences for me. Now, some other people have it, but for me, they are so close.
I think they are for most people,
Yeah.
my darling. I think that's the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is that the work that we all do together is really to differentiate that. It takes a lot of work to differentiate it. And I think you've been doing the work long enough that you can see it. And even when you can see it and feel it, it's still
hard. Yeah.
Yes.
But the more I become aware of it, I'm stretching out more meals. I'm eating less. Caroline talking about the fear of not having food available. It's funny because many of the things that I'll think are, oh, I brought this for lunch. Oh, I might get hungry. I need to eat that now. And just, my timing might be. And having this experience was helpful. Now, I love this word where I say it didn't cure me. The thing is, it did cure me to a new level.
Yeah.
It did bring me up to a new level. And that I'm now using the self-compassion of when I do overeat, being much more self-compassionate with it, being much more in tune with my physical hunger.
Yeah. And cure you means that it's over, that you've hit nirvana.
And it's interesting that my mind likes to throw that term up regularly.
I've heard it.
You've heard it from me many times, but the thing is that I'm now trying to watch that word and use my continuous improvement, and that I've just, made another turn in the road.
Amazing. Really, really good work. So we're going to share your work. So let's see, you're showing compassion and curiosity. You use the learn and move on tool. You're eating between the twos. And you decided not to eat sugar?
Not eating sugar. And I'm more active. I got rid of my resistance for being more active.
All right. We could probably talk about that another time too. That'll be interesting.
It's the action line.
Yes, it is. So no sugar, but you're eating flour?
Very little.
Okay.
Very, very little. It's just such a tiny amount that.
Okay. Okay.
So if we have a pasta, it's maybe less than 1/8 of a cup.
So do you treat it as a joy eat when you eat it, or do you treat it as a fuel eat?
I treat it as a joy eat.
Okay. So I think it's a really beautiful thing to talk about, because I think the longer that you're doing this work, you need to decide how you want to work with flour or sugar if you want it in your diet. And I love the idea of, I mean, for me, that's what I do with it. It's just a joy food.
Mhm.
And the art of a joy eat, which I think is what you're alluding to, is you don't eat very much of it because you're eating every bite and enjoying it and not using it as much to fuel you,
Yes.
because you can use other foods to fuel you too and really enjoy the taste of pasta if you like the taste of pasta,
Yes.
right? And so that's what you did this week. So like, how many joy eats would you say that you have a week? Do you think about it? Do you plan it? Like, how do you do that?
Yeah, it's planned. It's once a week. It's usually the night we're having pasta. It's our evening pasta meal.
So you just have one planned joy eat a week.
Yes.
Okay. And you think that works for you?
That is working right now.
Okay. What were you doing before? Like before these 2 weeks? Like, so if you were giving into an urge, would it be usually sugar or something like that?
Yep, sugar.
Okay. All right. So let's look at this, because all of this is what you have in your A line, and it's beautiful action. So what we want to know is basically that the circumstance is having a protocol, I think. But let's just put it there.
That's good. That's a good one to start with.
Yeah. So it's like, what are you thinking and feeling that's allowing you to do all of this? Because these are all the right things to do. And you can do all the right things and have really negative emotion, right? So you'll do it for a while, but you won't be able to do it for a long time.
And that's what we've talked about, is that my goal was to get this, that it's feeling good. It's not resistance.
Yes.
That is just part. My thoughts, well, my feelings, I'm going to go with my feelings right now. My feelings
Yes.
are empowerment, really high empowerment. And then it's really, with that empowerment is loving compassion, if that makes sense. Because you can feel empowered some way, in a powerful way.
Mm-hmm.
But this is empowerment with love behind it. And what my thoughts are is that my protocol and my choices in what I do are to care for myself the best way possible. And sometimes that means there's a little tough love in it. Because what I found myself doing with sugar was feeling a little kind of like a child, where you feel like you're deprived and I'm entitled to it.
Uh-huh.
And that I've deprived myself of it so long that I want it.
Okay.
And that to switch my mind to, you know what, this is just the way it's going to be. When you really, really love yourself, you're going to take care of yourself and sometimes say no to those things that you feel deprived on.
Oh, I love it.
That's not quite the right word.
Well, I think the thought is I'm going to love myself by taking excellent care of myself, even when there's an urge. I'm
Yeah.
gonna. I hear what you're saying. So it's like, I like the thought that it's.
I can love myself through the urges.
I can love and take care of myself, even with the urges.
Yes.
And what that means to you is, when I can love and take care of myself, loving and taking care of yourself may mean saying no to something, right? That is
Yes.
love. That is taking care of yourself, as if you're taking care of a child.
Yes.
Yeah, I love it. It's really good work, and I hope everybody uses this, because I think it's really good. You know, and it makes you have empowered, loving compassion. And I know that you believe this because you've done the work to get here. And so that's what I'm saying for everybody else, is that you may not be able to get here yet. You may be able to just know that it's possible. that you can love and take care of yourself even with the urges, which is a whole lot better than thinking you can't. And you can
Okay.
also, I'm just trying to think of another way of looking at that. I just think for you, Julie, it's great. And I just think if somebody else can't quite go there yet, that you can always go to it's possible or I can believe, something like that.
Well, and that's what I did a lot was I can believe
know.
and I can learn.
Yeah.
It was because I convinced myself I know I can learn this. I know I can do this. I know I can master this.
Yes.
And I'm just going to keep with those thoughts.
I love it. I love it. Beautiful. Anything else
Nope, that's
for
it.
now?
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Okie dokie. Beautiful work again. I'm going to promote you back. Well, I'm going to try to. Here we go. Bye, Julie. Okay. I said I had to get off at 1:30, but I'm going to make it a little bit later so that I can, oh, I have Paula too. Oh boy. I keep having to reconnect. Oh, for your information. Okay. All right. Let me bring Michelle up. I'm going to allow Michelle to talk. And I'm going to turn your let you turn your camera on.
Let's see here.
There you are.
Hi.
Hi. Are you in the car?
I am. I'm at work today and I'm taking a break.
Beautiful. Put the camera down. There you go. I see you now. Okay. So hopefully everybody can stay on for this, but I wanted to save you for last.
Okay.
And Paula, I know that you're going in and out, so I'll look at it as a sign that today you're not going to get coached. So, Miss Michelle, I read what you wrote, but why don't you just kind of explain it just a little bit and then we'll model it.
Okay, so I have found out about a year and a half ago that I have a genetic condition. It's called alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, and it runs in my family. And so I needed to go see a specialist in this condition because it's rather rare. And so I went to, I've been putting it off because I'm having a lot of fear around what this condition means for me and what it will mean for me. Anyway, I went and I saw the specialist last week, and I had a ton of testing done. And I learned that I do have some, the disease is expressing itself a little bit in my lungs. So I do have some diminished lung capacity because of the disease. The disease most commonly causes people to get COPD and emphysema that aren't smokers. And certainly if you're a smoker, it's all worse, which I'm not a smoker, but it's a sort of progressive disease that may or may not get real serious. My uncle has it and has had some serious problems with it, but he's 25 years older than I am. So I mentioned in my email, I learned a lot of facts at this appointment.
I saw how you did that. I thought that was very mindful of you.
Yeah, and I definitely have a lot of feelings about this, and most of them are negative, but there's also a voice in my head that says, I know that I can manage my thoughts to help me manage my emotions and my day-to-day life. I know that I've learned how to do that with you, and I know that's possible. So there are some thoughts in my head that are not as negative. But I knew that maybe working through a model would help me, be able to kind of clarify that a little bit.
For sure, because this is what I want to show you and show everybody else. We're not just going to a happy model. The goal is not to have a happy thought.
Okay.
The goal is, at this point, is just to see where you are and not resist it and not push it away and let that be okay.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do first, is we're going to look at the unintentional model. And when we talk about unintentional model, it just means that that's just where your brain goes. And that's
Mhm.
just the feeling that it creates. And sometimes there's nothing else you can do but that.
Right.
And that has to be okay too. So that's where I want to sit with you first, is that's got to be okay,
Okay. Yeah.
right? It's okay to not feel happy about this.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay to feel scared about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then it's also very interesting to watch how your brain makes up a lot of stories.
Yeah.
So we know that we have a circumstance, and I really love it in this meditation book because she talks so much about how our brains add on stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's interesting when we look at your thoughts to look at what you're adding on to what is the truth.
Right.
Right. And so you did that very well in your email. I was very proud of how you
Okay,
really
good.
labeled the facts as facts. They were.
Yep.
But for now, I just want to put here, I'm not going to write the whole name of the disease, but I'm just going to write it down that it
Yep.
is one. And that right now what you have is diminished lung
Function.
Okay. And what else? Uncle has it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and some of the other facts are that I know that it is, there's nothing that can be done to prevent the progress of the disease. And also there's nothing that can,
But the doctor says that.
correct.
And that's what you have to put in the C line. It's
Okay.
not that there's nothing. It's the doctor said.
Yeah. And that's actually not 100% true. She did say, like, stay healthy, don't get colds, take antibiotics if you get a bronchitis. Like, there's a couple things, very few things, but there's no like, take this, you're diabetic, take insulin and that will help, control the symptoms. It's like, you just have to see where it goes. And it may progress, it may not progress. There's no way to really know what's going to happen in the future.
You know what that sounds like to me?
What?
It sounds like living life. What you just said.
Mhm.
Don't
Yeah.
really know what's going to happen. It could be good. It could be bad. I really don't know. It's like,
Right.
well, that's about like how it is for today.
For everybody. Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
Right. And so I like that you said that because I want you to see that you're thinking that. And I want you to apply it to this.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Right. Because all it does, and I know we talked about this before, all it really does is it does help you become more mindful if you want to let it do that.
Mhm.
But before we can do that, let's just see what's going on.
Okay.
Right. So we have the facts here. So what do you think? Would you say fear is
Fear. Yep.
How scared? -10 is the worst.
Probably a -10. It's pretty
Okay.
bad.
All right. All right. And what are you thinking that's causing that? Do you know?
I do. I'm thinking a lot of things. I'm thinking I'm going to get sick really fast. I'm going to die young. I'm going to be disabled. My life is going to, I'm a patient now instead of a person. Those kinds of things.
Okay.
And I know those are all thoughts.
Of course. Which one do you believe the most?
That I'm going to get sick and become disabled and die young.
I'm going to get sick.
And disabled meaning that, like, I'm going to have to curtail my activities and go on oxygen and never leave my house because I don't have enough lung capacity to do the things that I want to do, and etc.
Right. And so just know, I wish I would have read in the meditation book, because they were talking about when they talk about mindfulness, they talk about that there's the actual specific thing that's going on,
Mm-hmm.
which is this. And then there's they call it add-ons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And usually it's the add-ons is where all the fantasy is and takes you out of the present moment. So the present moment is actually this. This is
right.
the moment. This is it.
Yep.
When that happened. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what is.
Yeah.
But then you have the add-on of this.
Mm-hmm.
And the suffering is coming from this.
Yeah.
You know that.
Mm-hmm.
I know that, and we all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But it is what you believe,
Yeah.
and it is scaring the shit out of you,
Yeah.
and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, and like Julie was talking about the
Yeah.
loving kindness and
Yeah.
saying, you know, I can say to myself, you know, it's okay to be scared. It's natural to be scared rather than be like, oh my God, I'm scared. I have to stop being scared. What's wrong with me? I'm scared, you know, and I think there's, you know, that's important to just say, or like you say, you know, this is where I am right now. And I just have to say, it's okay to be here right now.
Well, and also I'm going to say being here right now
Mm-hmm.
is really not even here right now.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Right? Because the present moment changes all the time.
Right.
Right? But in your mind, those are the facts.
Yeah.
Right? And the facts, for all practical purposes, are neutral.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They are where they are. Yep.
They are neutral. They are neutral until you make them mean something. I don't care
Right.
what it is.
Right. Because I guess I could be thinking, like, wow, I don't have end stage lung disease. Woohoo! My thoughts are positive, you know, or I could be thinking, okay, I don't have cancer, or okay, I'm not dying tomorrow, or whatever. Like my thought could go.
Your thought could be, if you want, I don't want to help you change it right now, but your thought could be, I'm fine right now and can enjoy my life.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
present moment. That is what's going on right now.
Yeah.
I mean, there's pretty much nothing that you can't do.
Right. And I do believe that. I definitely believe that.
Well, yeah.
I mean, that's reality. Is I do what I do. I love my life. I get to do lots of fun things. I'm capable of doing everything I want to do right now. With the exception of a few super intense hikes and bike rides, which doesn't really bother me that I can't do those right now. It's more that it bothers me that I might be more diminished in the future, but that's
You're
not
adding on. You're
Yeah.
adding on. There's no problem in the present moment
Right.
except what you add on.
Right. Right.
It's your add-ons that are causing all of this.
Right.
But just so you can see your model is that when you're thinking I'm going to get sick, I'm going to get sick and disabled and die young, and it scares the shit out of you, what happens in your A line?
What happens in my A line is I perseverate and I think about it and I'm unhappy. I mean, I'm not doing anything differently in terms of protecting my health or not protecting my health. It's more in my head. It's in my head.
Yeah. And let us say that what goes on in your head, do you not believe that it can affect the physical body?
I do believe it can affect the physical body, and it can affect my relationships. I mean, just being a Debbie Downer and,
in your head, you're going into the future. You're ruminating about how terrible it's going to be. You're fantasizing about your future, and it's all gloom and doom.
Right.
That's what you're doing.
Right.
I would say that's what you're doing.
Yes.
Right, in your A line. And then you could even say from that, and how are you treating your husband? How do you treat your kids? How are you treating people when you're doing this now?
I don't have as much patience. You know, I might want to be left alone. I get pissed off more easily about things that aren't that important. You know, it's taking up so much space in my head that it's hard to use my headspace for things that other things, you know, like being calm when I discipline my kids, or listening to my husband when he has a tough day and wants to talk about it after work and that kind of thing.
Yeah. So I just put less patience with family and can't be present in my own life.
Right. Exactly. That's good. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what's the result of going into the future and scaring the shit out of yourself and thinking of all the terrible things that are going to happen to you, and then separating yourself from your family and getting out of the present moment, which is fine? What's the result of that?
Well, it's like I'm making myself miserable.
You're making yourself sick.
Yeah.
And you're disabling yourself.
Yeah.
And maybe you will die young if you keep this shit up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is the result right now.
Yeah.
Can you see that?
I do. Yeah. it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like,
Well, it's taking you out of your present moment right now.
mm-hmm.
And it's giving you a result of you are kind of dying.
Right.
It's almost like you're hurting yourself right
Yeah.
now and you're not living your life.
Right.
It's kind of like you're dying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And all I really have is this moment. I mean, that's all we all have. Like, I can't be living 20 years from now today because it's not possible.
Well, none of us knows what's going to happen. So it's
Right.
possible that maybe it won't be the way you want it. Maybe it will be the way you want it. But
Mm-hmm.
that's what we all have anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, we
Yeah.
all want the best for ourselves and for everybody that we love. And maybe
Mhm.
we'll get it and maybe we won't.
Mm-hmm.
That's why
Mhm.
we tend not to live in the future, because we're just making shit up. And unless we want to make it really wonderful and keep ourselves positive, the only way to create the best future we can is to be in the present moment
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
where the future is created.
Right.
But that being said, it's okay
Yeah.
that
Yep.
you feel that. And that
Yeah.
you just sit there and you just can feel it,
Yeah.
how it feels and how bad
Yeah.
it feels.
Yeah. Yep.
And that maybe even in that, like, your intentional model just becomes more just allowing it to
Mm-hmm.
be there and showing compassion and holding yourself there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might be the next stage.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because what I find interesting, what you told me is that you haven't been using food, that you're on protocol.
I mean, my mind body chart was great this week, except for my mood, because I'm upset, about all this,
Yeah.
and I've got the fear, but
Yeah, it's not from food.
no, I mean, and we had to go to Denver, and we went out to all these restaurants, and it was really interesting. I went out to these restaurants, and I had, for example, this one meal that was like this salmon dish with some, barley and stuff. And it wasn't that great. It didn't taste that good. And I just stopped when I was full. I was like, it was interesting. I don't know whether, the perspective that I have about, just working through this disease and thinking about it, helps me to be more intentional with my food, because
Why would you say you don't know? If why would you say I don't know if? Why would
well,
you
I don't know
say
if
that?
I don't know if thinking about the disease and all that was playing into my eating, or whether my eating protocol and my mind around eating has improved to the point where even this quote unquote terrible blow of getting all this bad news or whatever isn't enough to shake my desire to be kind to myself and feed myself appropriately.
What do you want to think? I mean, you're telling me you don't know, and I'm telling you you're the only one that knows. I don't know what's going on here.
Well, I
It's kind of
think
like Caroline say, I think I'll just wait and see what happens.
Yeah, I think I've done a lot. I've done a hell of a lot of work, and I think that I'm doing a really good job of taking care of myself and managing my thoughts and working my models. And I think I've learned that, for me, I always denied this, but I think for me, food has always been about filling emotional needs. And I know that that's not going to work. It's not going to work. And, when I have something this big emotion about this fear, food is not going to isn't going to help. The only thing it's going to do is make it worse, because then I'm going to have to deconstruct, why did I do that? And, it's like I can skip that step of binging on comfort food, because I know it's not going to bring me comfort. It's only going to bring me questions.
So I think it's a great place to go
Mm-hmm.
if you want to bring yourself someplace else.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Is that number one is I can still feel afraid and take excellent care of myself and be kind to myself.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think, allowing it to be there. How does it make you feel when you think that? Does it calm the fear down?
When I think that I'm taking good care of myself, even when I'm afraid, yes, it does. Because it translates into, and I can take good care of myself in any situation, whether it's a medical situation or whether it's an emotional situation. Like, I'm strong, I'm strong. I'm capable of taking care of myself, and it can transfer.
That's what you call organic models, is that once you start coming up the ladder just a little bit and coming away from the intense fear, I'm not saying take away, I think all we did is we just maybe brought the fear down a little bit. Like, I don't even know if there is fear when you think that I can take excellent care of myself even when I'm afraid. What kind of feeling does that create for you?
Well, like a lot of times with these models, it creates curiosity, like, I wonder what that'll look like. Or it's going to be interesting to observe going forward. But it also definitely creates a feeling of power and a feeling of health, because, I am in charge of so many elements of my physical, mental, and emotional health. And I am in charge of taking care of myself, and I do a good job.
Come a long way,
Yeah. Yeah, I was shocked because when I in the past, one of my triggers was always traveling, like being on the airplane and feeling like I was going to get bored, so I needed to buy all these snacks. And
Caroline can hear you.
I did not, it's like, I know now that is not going to help. What's going to help is writing out my feelings, modeling, taking care of myself, being kind to myself. It's not going to help me to just chow down on all my favorite food.
Okay, we have a few minutes left. I just want to say, I think what you said might help you now. Is that with all of these horrible thoughts that you're thinking, none of them are going to help you.
Right.
And maybe you can use that in the same way that you're deciding not to, like you're saying, all the storming and binging in the world isn't going to make me feel better. So I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
So what if you went to all the ruminating and fantasizing in the world?
Yeah.
Isn't going to make this go away or make it better.
Right. Yep. Because that's another way of storming. It's like a thought storm and negative thought storm.
It just came to me. I think it's very organic.
Yeah.
But it's like you're so profound about how you're talking about storming and binging. I'm not doing that. Doesn't do anything. Will you tell me how all these thoughts that you're thinking are doing anything?
Nothing. Yeah. Yeah.
But you used to believe that storming and binging helped you. That's why you did it.
Yes.
I think a lot of times when we fantasize and ruminate, we're also doing it to help ourselves too and prepare ourselves. Let's just get you a little bit more miserable now so you won't be so unhappy later.
You won't get surprised. You won't,
Yes. So maybe that's just not helpful.
Yeah.
Maybe it's okay. I'll just be surprised. Just be surprised.
Right. Yep.
And I think you just keep working with it like that, instead of trying to push the fear away, say, come on in.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just fear.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a feeling.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, feelings don't kill you.
They don't.
No. Yeah.
They don't. And right now you are alive and you are vibrant. That's all I know right now.
Yeah.
That's all you know right now.
Yep.
Right? So you can either go out there and enjoy your life today, or you can do what you used to do with food. And you can just go binge on these thoughts.
Yep.
But maybe you know now that it's not going to help.
Right. No, I love that. I love that analogy, because it does. And as sick as it sounds, there is some comfort in like getting in bed and pulling up the covers and being like, giving into all these fears and all these thoughts and just like wallowing in it.
Yeah. You're not giving into it. You're letting them be there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think giving into is the reason we don't like to have emotions. We don't want to give into them.
Yeah.
But we're not giving it. We're just letting them be there.
Well, the loving kindness piece is letting them be there, because if you don't experience, it's like we talk about when you don't eat when you're not hungry, then you have to experience your feelings. And only by experiencing those feelings can you work through them and move on. Same idea here. Like I have to be able to experience my fear a little bit and address it so that I can work with it and move on.
It's brilliant.
Yeah.
Wonderful analogy. I hope everybody gets something out of that because I
Yeah.
think it's brilliant for you.
Yeah, I love it. I
do
love it.
too.
I knew you would help me come up with some great nuggets.
Well, the interesting thing is that you came up with it.
hmm hmm
You're the one
But-
that said it.
Well, but you helped me I mean, it's talking to you and having you repeat things back to me is really, it really clarifies things and solidifies things. And
Yes.
so it's really super helpful.
Yeah. There's nothing like being coached for sure.
No. And also listening to your other Caroline and Julie, like it's amazing to hear what they're doing and what they're thinking too.
I know. I just think it's such a good time to bring all of us together who are kind of in the same space because you can see everybody's elevated in their minds, right?
Yeah,
And yet we
yeah.
still suffer.
Yeah. Yes.
So I think it's just beautiful. So I'm glad. And, email me with anything else that's going on for the next call.
Okay.
And we'll
Great.
check in and
Thank
see
you.
how you're doing.
Okay. Awesome.
All
Thanks.
righty. I'm going to just say goodbye to everybody because the call is over. So I'm going to just keep you on.
Okay.
Say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye to everybody else. See you next time.
Thank you.
Bye. Wait a minute.